Hey guys, what's going on? So, I wanted to share something with you all that I think has the power to literally transform and reorient your life in a dramatically powerful way. So, I was hanging out with some friends the other night and we were kind of going back and forth and sharing some stories. And I began to share a little bit more of my story in a deeper way. And what we were talking about was just really life and kind of going through the motions and our stories. And I shared my story and how I found myself in this place where I was going through the motions and I was asking myself every single day, there has to be more to life than this. And I was in a transition in my life, and I was kind of just going through the motions, and I knew that there had to be something deeper. And this is the power of the tools that I want to kind of share with you, and what I got out of this experience in my life, and how it literally altered the trajectory of my life, and how it still applies today in my life and everything that I do. So what I was talking about is, I found myself waking up in the morning, having to go to work, kind of just doing a job I didn't like. I wasn't good at it. I was in a transition. I went from the not-for-profit world, I was a pastor, and I was transitioning out of that place to try to make more money for my family. We were about to have our first child, and literally I had no skills. I had no job that I can do that I felt excited about. So I was waiting tables, and I wasn't good at it at all. I didn't like it, but I found myself challenged in this place, asking myself, that there has to be more to life than this. And this is what I learned through that experience. In order for me to get to the next place in my life, I had to be where I was. I had to get 100% out of the season that I was currently in, and accept that. And not only accept that, but thrive in that place. So I began to change my mentality, and I began to thrive in that place. I didn't necessarily like it. I didn't like the place that I was in, but I found ways to connect deeper with the people that I worked with. I found ways to like what I was doing and become the best at what I was doing. And when nobody was looking, practice skills to become better at what I was currently doing. And here's here's what I really found. I needed to be radically grateful for the position where I was at, because I was in a place where I was making money. There were people during that time, this was a few years back, there were people that were losing their homes and losing their jobs. And so I shifted my perspective to that of deep, radical gratitude, where every day I would wake up and I would say, God, thank you so much for this job. Thank you that my wife's able to stay home. We just had our first child. My wife was able to stay home. He was extremely colicky. She couldn't leave the house, and I was able to provide for my family so that we can keep our house. We were on the verge of losing it. Long story short, I practiced radical gratitude. And just that feeling of gratitude, it shifted everything. It shifted my whole perspective. I was so grateful. But here's the takeaway. I didn't stay in that place where I just accepted the place that I was at. I was radically grateful for where I was at. However, I began to plan and create my desired future. I didn't want to stay in that place. Yes, I asked those deeper questions. There has to be more to life than this. I had desires, I had goals, I had dreams, I had aspirations that I wanted to attain. So I began to create those things. Even if it was just journaling some things down in the morning, putting those desires before me. When I would open my little waiter's notebook to jot down orders, I had this saying that I would say every single time that I would open that notebook. I would say this saying in my mind. And it had to do with my goals. It had to do with just putting my desires out there. And so I practiced gratitude, and I began to create my desired future. And I created it literally in my mind first, saying it over and over in my mind, feeling it, just putting that desire out there so that I can create that. And this is what I learned. This is a huge transformational piece for me. What I began to do was act on my intuition. And so I would get these intuitions that I needed to do this, and I would go do that. Whether it was talk to someone, whether it was to say something to someone that was kind of like, man, I don't know if I should say this. I don't know if I should step out like this and follow my intuition. But I began to do that. And little by little, those intuitions, me being able to take the risk on those intuitions, began to radically transform my life. In my personal life, my relationships, and also in my financial life, and the things that I desired and the things that I wanted, and my goals and my aspirations for myself, for my wife, and for my family. Those intuitions, acting on those intuitions, began to literally transform the trajectory of my future. And so I want to challenge you. Wherever you find yourself, be radically grateful for the place that you're at. Listen, there are so many people that are in a worse off place than you. So be radically grateful for where you're at. And number two, this is huge. Trust me when I tell you, if you do this, it'll transform your life. You'll be able to reach your goals. You'll be able to literally experience your desires. Put those desires out. Begin to create it in whatever small way, even if it's just writing a vision, creating a vision board, journaling, writing that stuff out, making it plain, putting it in front of you, writing it on your mirror, when you wake up in the morning to brush your teeth, putting it on your mirror. Put your desires out there, and then practice following and taking the risk on your intuitions. And I would suggest this. Start small. Maybe you go throughout the day and you have this little intuition that you should do something. Or maybe you should, go to work and take a different path to work. Go down a different block. Be open to the spiritual part of who you are. Be open to God whispering those intuitions into your spirit. And then following those intuitions and being serious about following and taking the risk on those intuitions, no matter how small they seem. It could just be saying something to someone. I have a practice where if I have a real vivid dream about someone, I will make sure that I call that person up or I message that person and let them know what that dream is. And this is a practice. This is something that you practice and become good at. It's like a muscle. If you continue to use it and practice it, you're going to develop it and become extremely strong in that area. So you know what? Right now, a lot of the things that my wife and I do, a lot of the business dealings and a lot of the life direction that we follow, it comes from our intuition. It comes from listening to the spiritual part of who we are. It comes from partnering with the Spirit, partnering with God, hearing that intuitive voice, and then being like radical to follow and take the risk of that intuition. And I want to challenge you to do that, because if you do that, I can guarantee you that your life is going to be different. It's just going to be different. You're not going to go through that routine, going through life on autopilot, because you're going to open yourself up to abundance just by being grateful for what you have, for the place that you're currently at in your life. And then you're going to literally be able to create the future that you desire, because you're going to listen to that intuitive, still small voice inside of your spirit, and you're going to take the risk to act on those things, because those small things wind up becoming big things. There's a scripture that says, don't despise the days of small beginnings. It may start small for you, But you know what? You're going to continue to grow that, and you're going to develop that. And those things are literally going to turn into your ultimate goals, dreams, and desires. So I want to encourage you today. I want to challenge you. Be radically grateful for where you're at. Open up the space to hear that intuitive part of who you are, and then take the risk to act on those things and watch your life transform. Hey, listen, if this was inspiring, I would appreciate you share it with a friend, share it with a family member, and keep your eye out, because my wife and I have some really awesome things planned for our community, for our tribe, for the people that follow us. We're ready to kind of take things to the next level. So keep your eyes out. We want to serve you. We want to share with you and just be here for you to serve the people that are in our lives. We love you, and just have an awesome day. Peace.